man driving car, man, not going to that, brother. Style man, style man, brother. Big man, no man putting a blood clot, but man driving car, brother, brother. Because say man rich, bro, man, like, but me not understand why them lock him up, bro. Me still not.
The whole of blood clot system of fight against you to blood clot.
Why them lock him up? Me still not understand why.
What's good, everybody? Welcome back to the Daily Scoop, where we break down the biggest stories, conversation, controversies, and moments coming out of the Jamaican entertainment and dancehall. If you are new here, make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn on your notifications, and stay locked in because today we have a serious amount to unpack. And trust me, dancehall has given us plenty to talk about. We are talking about Vybz Kartel, Beenie Man, Future Fambo, Foota Eye, Massicka, Alkaline, and Popcaan. We are also getting into the never-ending argument over one question: who really deserves the title of King of Dancehall? Is it Vybz Kartel? Or is it Beenie Man? Or is the whole argument about the crown missing the bigger picture? Because Vybz Kartel continued to command attention years into his career, while Beenie Man remains one of the most decorated and influential figures in dancehall history. And now, with Beenie Man preparing for another major event, there is reportedly discussion about whether Future Fambo could make an appearance. But there is a reported price tag attached to that possibility, and it has people talking. We are also looking at Massicka, who has identified one particular song as the biggest career highlight of his journey so far. And yes, some fans are definitely going to disagree. Then there is Alkaline, who recently made a bold statement about his influence and dancehall, basically saying the evidence of his impact is already there. So today we are putting all of these stories together. No unnecessary jagging, let's just get straight into it. So let us start off with Popcaan. There is a video involving Popcaan and police officers circulated across social media and generated discussion. The footage led to questions about exactly what was happening and why officers appeared to be interacting with the artists. But here is where viewers need to be careful because a short social media video does not necessarily provide the full context. You may see the beginning of an altercation without seeing what happened before. You may see police speaking to someone without knowing why, and you may see an individual being allowed to leave without knowing what was discussed. So rather than jumping to conclusion, the responsible thing is to separate what can actually be seen from speculation. What the video clearly did was generate conversation. Popcaan has been one of the dancehall most international recognizable artists for years, so almost any public interaction involving him can quickly spread online, and once something goes viral, everybody becomes an investigator. Alright, the debate that seems almost impossible to kill. The Vybz Kartel versus the Beenie Man. This argument has been happening for years, and every time one of these artists make a major move, the conversation starts again. Vybz Kartel has repeatedly been associated with the title of King of the Dancehall by his supporters. Beenie Man, meanwhile, has an entirely different kind of argument behind his name. His resume speaks for itself. Beenie Man has been involved in dancehall for decades. He came into the industry young, developed through the sound system culture, competed with some of the biggest names of his era, and eventually became one of Jamaica's most recognizable dancehall artists internationally. Then you have Vybz Kartel. Kartel represents a different generation and a different approach to dancehall. His impact was not simply about making it record. He influenced language, he influenced fashion, he influenced production, he influenced the way younger artists approach songwriting, and perhaps most importantly, he became a major force in the digital era of dancehall. That is why the argument continues, because the two artists represent different periods, different approaches, and different definition of greatness. If you ask a long-time dancehall fan who grew up with Beenie Man, Bounty Killer, Lady Saw, Elephant Man, and other major figures of that era, you may get one answer, and somebody who came up during the rise of Vybz Kartel, Popcaan, Mavado, and the newer generation, and you might hear something completely different. And that is what makes the debate so interesting, because there is no single statistic that can completely settle it. Do you measure the crown by longevity, its songs? Do you measure it by international recognition? Do you measure it by their influence, the lyrics, the cultural impact, the award, or the ability to remain relevant years after your biggest commercial moment? Depending on what measurement you use, the answer changes. And that is why the king of the dancehall argument is not going away anytime soon. My next question is, could future Fambo and Beenie Man share the stage again? There is history between these artists, and the longtime dancehall fans may remember the collaboration and studio moments involving Beenie Man and future Fambo. There was a period when the two artists were associated with music and studio chemistry that showed a different side of dancehall. Now, according to reports circulating around the entertainment space, there has been discussion about future Fambo potentially appearing at Beenie Man Summer Sizzle event. The conversation gained even more attention after Foota Hype raised the question of whether fans would want to see future Fambo perform at the event. And judging from the reaction describing the discussion, there appears to be interest. But then came another part of the story. A reported figure of 1.5 million Jamaican dollars has been associated with what future Fambo would want for the performance. No, let's be very clear. A reported performance fee is not the same as a confirmed booking until the artist, event organizer, or official representative confirm the deal. It should be treated as a report rather than a confirmed fact. But let's discuss the bigger question. Would future Fambo be worth that kind of booking? That is where things get interesting, because future Fambo has records that people still know. He has experience and he has a catalog, and he has the kind of personality that can create a strong live performance moment. Then there is the nostalgia factor. Imagine a Beenie Man event where several artists from different chapters of dancehall history come together. That is the kind of lineup that could create moments people talk about long after the show ends. So the question is not simple, is future Fambo worth the money? The better question is, what value does future Fambo bring to the overall event? Because a festival performance is not always about the number of minutes an artist spends on stage. It is about the reaction. It is about the catalog. It is about whether the audience feel like they witnessed something special. And if Beenie Man himself is involved in bringing future Fambo onto the stage, that could change the equation completely. No, Foota Hype asking whether fans want future Fambo at the show is interesting for another reason, because dancehall audience have changed. Fans now have a direct voice. Back in the day, artists and promoters could announce a lineup and wait for people to show up. Today, social media give fans the opportunity to respond immediately, because you can announce an artist and within minutes people are arguing about the decision. Some people want the old school names, others want the newest generation, some want combination that have never happened before, and some fans simply want to hear the biggest songs. So when a personality like Foota Hype asks the audience whether they want future Fambo and a Beenie Man show, it is almost like testing the market. Would people pay to see it? Would people be excited? Would they rather see another artist? And most importantly, does this still have a commercial value? That is the real question. Now, let's move over to Massicka. This is where some fans are going to disagree because Massicka has identified whites as one of the biggest and in the discussion presented his biggest career highlight. And immediately you already know there is going to be a debate because Massicka has another major record that many fans will bring up, such as My Dog Them. And then you have his collaboration and other songs that have played major roles in his career. But Massicka's own assessment matters. According to the report, he explained that whites created opportunities for him that he did not necessarily anticipate when he made the record. That is an important statement because sometimes artists know a song is good but they don't know how far it is going to travel. There is a difference between I made a good song and this song changed what became possible for my career. That is what made the story behind White's interesting. The song reportedly gained significant attention after its release. The number associated with the record are substantial, including millions of streams and views across digital platforms. But numbers are not the only reason a song matters, because sometimes a record becomes important because of timing. Sometimes it is because of the rhythm and the hook, and sometimes it is the artist's delivery. Sometimes the song catches an audience outside of the artist's traditional market, and sometimes everything lines up at once. That is what appeared to have happened with Whites. Massicka has described himself as somebody who approached records with ambition. In other words, he does not want to enter the studio thinking, let's just make something average. The goal, or his goal, is to create something that can move. And when White started getting a strong response, the momentum built. That momentum then created more opportunities, and that is probably why Massicka viewed it as as a more important moment to him. So now we are talking about the next chapter. Massicka is preparing for another major release with Forever Rain. And whenever an artist reaches this stage, the question becomes, can the next project exceed the expectation created by the previous era? That is difficult because once you have a successful record, people expect you to duplicate the success. But music does not work like maths. You cannot simply copy the formula. The audience will change, market change, the sound change, and the artist changes. Massicka already established himself as one of Dancehall major album artists of the streaming era. His previous projects have performed strongly on the Billboard reggae chart. So, Forever Rain is not simply another album, it is a test of whether Massicka can take the momentum from his previous work and push it even further. And if Whites is the benchmark he personally used for the previous phase of his career, then fans are naturally going to listen closely just to see what comes next. Now, let's get into Alkaline because this is another statement that immediately creates conversation. Alkaline does not do constant interviews. That is a part of what makes his comment interesting whenever he decides to speak. Following major performances and the continued rollout around his music, Alkaline spoke about his impact on dancehall, and his message was confident. The change has already happened. He basically argued that his influence can be seen in the way people view the genre and in the way the culture has evolved. Now, some people will agree and some will completely disagree. But let's examine what he is actually saying. Alkaline was built around a very specific identity. From the beginning, he presented himself differently. His sound was different, his visual was different, his approach to interview was different, his fan culture became different as well, and he built a very strong connection with a particular section of the dancehall audience. That is influence. Whether you believe it is enough to say he changed dancehall is another conversation, but influence does not necessarily mean everybody has to copy you. Sometimes influence means you create a different lane and prove that the lane can become successful. So Alkaline's strategy basically has always been interesting because he has generally allowed the music to do the most of the talking, while other artists may spend significant amount of time responding to critics, engaging in public dispute, or participating in entertainment drama. Alkaline has often maintained a more controlled public image, and according to his recent comment, that's intentional. His position is essentially focused on his music. Do not allow every argument to become your problem. Do not spend all your energy responding to people. Make the music, perform it, build a catalog, let the result speak for itself. That philosophy is especially interesting in dancehall because controversy has historically been a major part of the culture. But Alkaline appears to believe his career can continue without constantly feeding that machine. Alkaline's latest album, NPT, is another major part of this discussion. The project entered the Billboard Reggae Album charts and added another chapter to his international resume. That is significant because Billboard placements are not simply about local popularity. They demonstrate that an artist's music is reaching listeners beyond Jamaica, and Alkaline previous projects have already established a pattern of international chart recognition. So when he said the evidence is there, he has numbers and accomplishments he can point forward towards. Now, does that automatically prove he changed dancehall? Not necessarily. That is still an opinion, but it gives his argument something concrete behind it. He is not saying, believe me because I said so. He is essentially saying, look at the career, look at the music, look at the audience, look at the result, then make your own judgment. So my question to you is, who is your king of dancehall? Is it Beenie Man or is it Vibes Cartel? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Keep the conversation respectful. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the Daily Scoop, turn on the notification bell, and share this video with somebody who follows the Jamaican music. Bless up, stay safe, and keep your eyes on the Daily Scoop.